these aren't class skins at all, like everyone said they were, even though no one said that out loud. But yes.
Well, there you have it.
They seem cool, but also seem like people are just going to be disappointed by them. Because they're going to have an idea that, wow, hero talents! And it's like, here's a handful of talents that are really actually very good and really interesting to play with, but aren't going to blow your socks off.
Yeah. So, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to engage presenter mode to get through the info so that everybody knows what's going on.
I'll take a nap here then.
If you have not been sure with hero talents,
Open blue archive here.
hero talents are an evergreen form of character progression for each class within War Within, introducing new powers and class fantasies. There are 3 hero talents per class, with the exception of Demon Hunter and Druid, who have 2 and 4 respectively. Of course, because of their numbers of specs. Each class spec has got access to 2 of the hero talents in different combinations. These will unlock at level 71, will have 11 nodes with additional talent points being awarded each level from 71 to 80, meaning you'll be able to have the entire tree by the time you hit max level. There are some choice nodes in each hero tree that can be freely swapped out. From me looking at them, basically the choice nodes will change up your flavor of gameplay. The other nodes will just kind of like increase the power of that hero talent tree. Matt, by the way, is literally opening Blue Archive.
Oh yeah, I'm committed to the bit. Like I'm literally doing my dailies while he's talking.
Well, Matt, I'm already through header 1, so you better finish your fucking dailies, bro. What to expect? Each hero talent will start with a keystone, right? So you'll get a keystone whenever you actually get access to the system. It will introduce a new core mechanic or concept that the rest of the tree basically revolves around and augments. So you get your thing, you grow your thing's power, and you also customize your thing to a degree. This may be an entirely new active ability or a buff to maintain, or simply just enhance an existing ability rooted in an existing class fantasy. As an example, the treants for a druid, one of them is basically all about getting your treants to do different things for you that give you more power and resources. Each will then end with another, with a capstone talent. So you have your keystone at the start, capstone at the bottom, and your capstone will build on the core theme and basically just make it a good bit more powerful. Each hero talent tree will also offer or modify some class utility and include some defensive bonuses that will be useful to all specializations. And while your hero tree... yes, there. So hero trees for talent specs will have additional defensive bonuses that may be valuable to, say, healers or damage dealers. They are aiming to have relative equal utility and defensive nodes in each tree. Hero talents will not be overshadowing what's already going on. They are basically, just think of them as like taking a thing. So maybe you have a favorite ability. Maybe whenever you hit Avatar and your warrior, that's like one of the cooler moments because your character gets bigger. It feels really cool. These will basically be like emphasizing and highlighting one of those elements of what your character can do. Now then, let's talk about freedom. Freedom of choice. They are basically trying to develop these, this is always hard, with the goal of being viable and similarly effective in Raid, Mythic Plus, and PvP, avoiding situations where stuff feels required. They do get that people will always, some will always pick the most powerful throughput, regardless of how small the benefit is, but they're trying to keep balance close. And I know a lot of people will be like, what's the point in adding these? What's the point? I don't care. Blah. It's just going to be the perfect thing ever. Literally with anything that offers player customization where throughput is the thing, that's true. That's always going to be true. So what you have to do is make that not matter as much and then focus on things that people will find to be cool and enjoyable so that they can get the same or even better performance by doing the thing that they enjoy because they actually mesh with it, I would say. In the same way, like if somebody's always playing the flavor of the month character in League, they're probably not going to get like as much peak skill with that character to actually play to the point where they are accessing the true levels of power that that character would offer them. But the people who do play Flavor of the Month in League and are of a very high skill level, it's probably because they're basically some of the best players in the game. So of course they can maximally utilize everything. It's why whenever you look at damage numbers in WoW, you'll often see like, basically it's like a candlestick that kind of shows you the range. So while the averages may be what the averages are, if you feel that you are squeezing all the juice out of your spec and you're probably a top like 80th percentile of your spec, even if there's like 4 specs that do better damage than you, you'll probably beat them, or at least beat yourself if yourself was playing them, if you absolutely know your shit and you can play what you choose to a very high level of competency. Which is why one of these, this thing here about freedom of choice, Blizzard have a job to do, and the community will always find what's optimal because the best players in the game will always want to know that. But you've got to do what works best for you. And what Blizzard needs to do is not necessarily make you feel like you're playing Flavor of the Month every month, but to always ensure you're never feeling like you're playing the wrong spec. So that's their job. Always will be. Obviously, with this system, it will continue to be. As for how they choose, basically, it's about, like, is stuff appropriate? As an example, a Colossus Warrior, for them, that made sense for, you know, a big Mighty Arms Warrior and also a Protection Warrior. Then also they created some new themes that are, like, appropriate for 2 specs, like Fate-bound Rogues. Hero talents will retain your core combat role and gear, so you're not competing for new types of gear or anything like that. And they wanted to ensure that they could deliver iconic Warcraft fantasy archetypes into existing specs that ordinarily wouldn't fit the toolkit for an entire class. As an example, Blade Masters would not be a Blade Master without an ability like Windwalk or Mirror Image, but those don't fit a Warrior's toolkit. So I suppose for a Blade Master Warrior, they can then make that happen without impacting the rest of what a Warrior feels to play. Could you scroll me down? I mean, I think their guiding principles is just that it's cool and they don't fuck it up and they don't do, like, loads of button bloat. So I think that's done. And they say they're open to feedback. Now,
Their guiding principles are, this will be good, we hope.
Now, what they've done, which is good, is they've released DK, Evoker, Paladin, and Warrior ones so that people can see them. Right. And they're taking, there are feedback threads in the same way that you have feedback threads whenever you're on a PTR with significant changes or you're on, like, an alpha or a beta. So that's also, like, a really good thing.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent stuff.
So, Matt, I hope you got your dailies done.
So I got quite most of them scammed through, yeah.
Really?
Just in terms of
how is it a video game if you can do all?
Well, I didn't do any of the actual video game. I did all of the spending my resources and holding lessons and getting my stuff from the cafe and clicking the 8 different types of daily mission track to give me stuff to get me loads of resources. Now I'm level 20, which is good. Yeah. So I'll actually play the game later when I have time because I'm not going to literally play it now. But yeah, so I think these are interesting in that they are a pretty smart, I think, like, actual step forward. I think I talked about this before, where they were really limited in what they could do with actual talents. How do you make talents bigger without just making it bigger? Because the bigger the tree is, the more complicated it is, because you're adding so much more variety. So they've fired a lot of other things on top. And I think most of it so far people are kind of happy with. There's a lot of the fantasy that people are a little bit concerned about in a way, just because some of them seem a bit shite, like the Warlock ones seem a bit shite. But maybe there's a path forward where people can actually build that forward through feedback and things like that. Like, here's an example that's actually funny, because we've got the Sandlane bit here with the DKs. Sandlane is Blood and Holy. But I know DK in our guild is talking about Rider of the Apocalypse.
It's literally called Rider of the Apocalypse.
Yeah.
How can you not click that?
Yeah, and he's just like, well, like, am I going to be doing mounted combat?
No.
And you're like, no, why would you ever think that? And then you go, well, it's called Rider of the Apocalypse, so...
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess you just have to call it a Knight of the Apocalypse, which is definitely more lame, but at least it's, like, reasonable. You know, it's true.
Yeah. So it feels like they have a lot of
Apocalyptic
trust us. But, like, the Sandlane stuff, oh, good.
Wait, they also went pretty serious with this. They did loads of interviews.
Yeah, those are very, very cool. Very cool that they actually made this like a full community-focused marketing beat.
Yeah.
As opposed to just a marketing beat. Because there's a bit of a difference. Because they didn't just go to PC Gamer and tell them how cool hero talents are. They took a lot of people and sat them down and actually spoke to them, which is fantastic. And I think a lot of it's like, you can tell how limited it is in choice in a small way, where it's kind of a little bit, it feels a little bit more like the top or middle of the talent tree at times as opposed to the bottom. But they are usually based around a very fundamental focused thing that's cool. Like this being Vampiric Strike, right? Death Coil, Death Strike, 10% chance to make your next heart or Scourge Strike become Vampiric Strike, which heals you and gives you stacking haste. which is fun to play with because you press buttons go faster. You press button faster, more button faster, speed, go.
It's the end of Legion and you have RSI.
Yeah, you throw that in with, an unholy DK gets PI and suddenly they're having the time of their lives doing this. And that ultimately comes down to, like, the middle bit here is kind of, okay, well, here's Death and Decay, your chance to gain Vampiric Strike. So this is all building on Vampiric Strike, which I think is actually a cool fantasy, right? You're healing with this and it's making you faster. And you've got all these things that constantly build up. And there's you go. And I know this is actually something that exists for, I think it was a tier set that was busted and gave strength. I think it's that same thing from Blood DKs. But there you go. You've got your strikes, extend the duration of it. Vampiric Strike increases extension by 100%. And there it goes, well, look at that. Gift to the Sand Lane during VB or DT actually fills Vampiric Strike. So you've got this, like, actual cool new ability that changes your buttons. And then it goes on and gets upgraded. And then you look at, like, the choice nodes at the sides, and you've got a little bit more simple stuff. Like, there's Raise Ally, heals people and gives you a shield. That sounds great for a tank who spends the runic power on Raise Ally. And they feel like they're a little bit weaker because they had to spend that RP on it. So they get the shield as a little, actually, don't worry about it. You're allowed to press Raise Ally in combat now, instead of making it free, which I think is cool. And then the other version is like the vampiric speed of, because obviously Vampiric Aura gives speed back in the day. So they go, you press Death Advance or Wraith Walk, everyone else gets to run faster in a party. So you imagine now everyone presses, everyone presses Death Advance at the end of a pack in M+ and run to the next one. And suddenly you see the fantasy built a little bit more. And it's stuff like that I think is like, it's a small, but I think a pretty, like, I don't say like massive, but it just seems nice so far. Like they have the stuff down, they have the ideas down. Like there's like even over there's Vampiric Strike from Sanguine Scent, or you've got more damage from Pact of the Sand Lane. All of these things like that just kind of builds on this one core fantasy instead of being huge. So I really like it. I really like the approach here in terms of how it feels. I think they could go. There's not even too much more to say outside of they are very focused on fantasy, which is exactly what they need to be. And they all have really core focuses to them.
Again, like if you're a warrior and you like the thunder shit, it's not a full class skin, but also if there's more thunder flying out of your dude, it's fun. In the same way, like, you use Storm Strike and do all your shit perfectly as an enhancement shaman, and you're like, big thunder boy, feels cool.
Yeah, bam, bam, bam. Yeah, there's so much stuff that's like just small little design things that feel like they could never fit them into the talent tree, because they've got them siphoned off into a little thing that, like, you're going to have problems of one being this, right? You're going to have these problems in a big way because they do impact your, like, throughput. Like, this is Chrono Warden, which is for AUG and Preservation. And you just see a load of healing bonuses here. And it's probably going to be better because it ties into the time stuff than the Ruby Adept. Unless the numbers are wrong, because I know all like the time stuff was why Preservation was really strong in a bunch of cases, especially when you go now Preservation can pick up like some augmentation and stuff with the Threads of Fate, which gives other people extra damage. So you can see there's a little bit of we may have some issues when the rubber hits the road. But these are cool. Like Lightsmith Paladin is way cooler than I thought. I had no idea what it was going to be.
I didn't know you had fucking constructs and everything.
Yeah, then it just goes like, now you press a button and you'll drop a holy armament, which can either be a bulwark or a weapon. It alternates, so you know what it's going to be. Which means you can drop a bulwark by your tank and they'll pick it up and get a shield. Or you can drop it for your DPS or a healer to actually get more throughput. And then there's solidarity, so you can pick it up and like run over to the tank and pick something up and give the benefits there as well. You've got how that fits into everything else just works really well. At least it feels that way to me. It's like it's obviously this is specifically kind of augmentation in a way, but it still feels the same as, hey, you're a paladin and you like light constructs and light weapons. Fucking give them to your mates then. Go for it. I think that's actually just like, people will look at that and go, oh, I kind of want that. I think that's neat. I know like a couple people in our guild were immediately like, oh, that's That feels good to me. Especially like there's you've got like wings summons an additional weapon during wings. It casts spells your targets, echoes the effects. And that's just going to feel good. Like obviously you've got dancing wind weapon.
Yeah.
Does a pretty decent job of that, like fantasy of a living weapon. And there's like a summoned one. Stuff like the effect of your active aura is increased by 33% and targets your armaments. That's not going to be massive, but at the same time, you go, here's what I got. Here's your armament. Here's your Devo aura is a little bit stronger in the tank. I just feel it's nice. It might be game changing at super high keys, but for the majority of people, it's just going to be, I'm going to pick the thing that's cool as hell. And I haven't seen anyone cry about them, so I think they're doing pretty well. Outside of the class skin argument. Which is, these aren't class skin, so it kind of is. I didn't really look at this one too much, because I looked at all the text in one time, not reading that. But, Stormstrike, Stormstrike damage, okay, it's like Stormstrike. I was like, Stormstrike? They're getting, what? What's this?
Thunderclap by 50%.
Yeah, like Avatar of the Storm gives you 2 charge of Thunder Blast and resets Thunderclap. So you're just clapping shakes. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay, I see that, yeah. And Stormstrike obviously being a mixture of nature and physical, so it ignores resistances where it needs to. That's really cool. Perfect.
Yeah, so essentially, big picture, I think these are shaping up quite well. It seems we're able to provide feedback to them in, pretty early time. And look, based on how class development has went so far in Dragonflight, whenever there's problems, they actually do seem to, to actually move on them. And I know sometimes there's overcorrections, yes. Holy Paladins, you guys went from, I'm invincible to, getting slammed.
Yeah.
But, broadly speaking, right, like versus the last few expansions, we've had so much more class dev work. Overall, I'm feeling pretty positive.